Hello lads, and welcome back to a video which I'm going to be calling what you could be getting wrong whilst driving. And it's just talking about a few things that, whilst they might be minor, if they start to add up, they can start to take an effect on your road driving. And they're just little things that you can learn to break the habit of, or just avoid if you're either starting driving, you've been driving a while, or you're even just looking into the basics of driving and you're getting started on YouTube. So one of the first tips I want to chat about is not looking up and ahead into the road when you're driving. A lot of people, when they start driving, they'll kind of look down at their bonnet and at the front of their car, as in they're kind of using the excuse that they're looking for potholes and they kind of want to keep their car in the center of the lane. But in fact, looking right down in front of your car is the worst way of doing this. It makes everything you react to very sort of last minute and very sort of jerky. So what you want to do is keep your head up, look down through corners, sort of keep scanning as well. Don't look ahead and then not look down at the road occasionally to see if there are any potholes, but scan around in front of you, look through corners if you can, if the foliage lets you, and if there's a clear view. What this is going to do is it could allow you to spot potential dangers way ahead of where you would normally. So if you were looking down, you might see someone pull out in front of you way too late. You might see that pothole way too late, and what this does is it causes a bigger reaction than it should do. Like, if you see a pothole, say a couple hundred meters down the road, you can then take time to slow down, move out the way. If someone pulls out and you can kind of judge that they're gonna pull out on you, you can slow down way back and you can avoid those last minute, whoa, get on the brakes moments and those sort of jerky swerves. You can almost cut out all of those. This works for road driving, this works for race driving as well on the track, all those conditions as well, because that means you can just take that extra time to react to things. It reduces the amount of wear on your tires for corners. If you can set yourself up beforehand, you can be smoother on the brakes, accelerator and steering. It's just a good thing to do in general. This also accounts for, when you're driving, staring at the car in front of you and kind of following them across the road everywhere. Track driving and road driving is exactly the same. You want to be driving your own line on the road and the racetrack. So if you're following the car in front of you blindly anywhere, you can follow them through potholes, you can follow them into a bloody tree if they're being that stupid. You have to give each other space and time and drive your own line. Look in front of their car occasionally as well, and especially when you're coming up to corners, kind of judge through the corner before them. You can sometimes see things before they will, so you can brake and back off, and they could go crashing into something that's happened in front of you and you'll be fine. Plenty of times I've been in the car with some of my friends that are good at this, and they've spotted things way before the traffic has, and they've backed off, and then you can see people like piling right up on the brakes in front of them because they're just staring down at the front of their car or whatever's going on inside their car. The big things that people who aren't necessarily into cars that much tend to do as well is not know that much about their car. Study your car and know the basics of it, like whether it's front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. This is a big thing because especially in wet conditions, icy conditions, you're going to want to know how to correct a slide in that said car, because front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive and four-wheel drive are all very slightly different. I've been meaning to make a video on this for a while, so I will link down in the description to this video when I've completed it, talking in depth about how to correct slides of different kinds in the different types of drivetrains. Most little hatchbacks in the UK are front-wheel drive, which means that if the back steps out in an oversteer situation, it's just a case of pointing the car where you want to go with the steering, correcting it with a little bit of opposite lock and applying the power. And what it does is it's like pulling a string taut, it pulls the car straight, and that means you can kind of drag the car from the front out of the slide. Rear-wheel drive cars need opposite lock, corrective steering, and a slight reduction in power, because if you're spinning the rear wheels, that's what's causing the slide. You'll need to back off slightly, snapping the power off, because you'll end up likely the other way in the slide. And four-wheel drive is a case of a bit of both. Four-wheel drive gets a lot more complicated when you're correcting slides, as all four wheels will generally do different things, and it depends on the four-wheel drive system as well. Some are front biased, some are rear biased. If possible, in general, it would be great for you to take your car to a private track, a track day, or to an instructor. There are some days you can take your cars on where they just take you through the limits of your car, like how fast you can go before it starts understeering, oversteering, that sort of thing. See if you can test your car out on private land with the permission of the owner, all that fun stuff. You need to know really what the limits of your car are on private land and on strips before you take it on the public road and try to push the limits. Because the problem is, if you get your car close to the limit on the public road, if you've never done that before, what generally tends to happen is you vastly overstep the limit and end up in a tree or end up in the back of someone else's car or something like that, because the limit of cars is very fine. It's a very fine edge, and it varies depending on the road surface, your tires, and the conditions. So you want to find that out in a safe way first in varying conditions before you then way overstep it on the public road and end up with a big bill on your hands. In my opinion, speed is never the killer of people. It's generally a misinformation and low levels of education when it comes to driving. So you need to know as much as you can about your car, cars in general, and the limits of said cars in different conditions, because that's really going to save your life and it's going to let you have a lot more fun in a much safer way. One thing that's interesting, I would say is a good tip. Treating everyone like an idiot on the road, even if they're not, is a really good way to just keep yourself safe and anyone safe around you that's in your car too. You've got to think that people don't know what they're doing, so you give them extra space, you give them more time to react, more time to pull away from junctions, and you don't think that they're on the game all the time, because they're not going to be. The general public, you never know what they're doing. They might be on things, you know, they might have been drinking, they might just not be paying attention that day, they might be tired. Give everyone more time than you think you should, because you really don't know what condition they're in, what condition their car's in, and you want to keep yourself safe more than anything. You don't care about them, you care about yourself and the people in your car. Give everyone that little bit more time. It'll make you drive in a much more relaxed manner too, and make it easier on your heart rate, if anything else, rather than constantly trying to push people faster and to go, and you know, as soon as the light turns green, you're on the horn trying to get people. Just relax, take a couple more seconds. Kind of combines into with letting your emotions get the better of you. If you're driving with your emotions a lot of the time, whether it's on the circuit or on the road, you're going to find that you're one, a lot slower, and two, much more likely to end up in a tree or in the back of someone. Because emotions, especially when you're getting angry and you're getting frustrated with driving, they'll make you overdrive the car and they'll make you do things you wouldn't normally do. So you want to keep a logical, kind of rational thought on everything you do. Even on the circuit. On the racetrack, you'll definitely overdrive the car as soon as you start getting angry, you get past. On the road too. And if you start coming into corners hotter than you think you should normally, you start sort of dropping the clutch as you're pulling away from junctions, wheels spinning everywhere. One, you're overheating and damaging the car, and two, you are more likely to end up on your roof. Even if sometimes you have to pull over, go to McDonald's and get a coffee, go get some McNuggies. Short one. Stop using your fog lights everywhere, please. Even if there's light fog, you really don't need them. Stop using your fog lights. It's really annoying. If it's really thick fog, use your fog lights. Not if there's a bit of mist or it's slightly cloudy. Something that especially applies to newer drivers, and it's thinking that the end of your driving test, and when you pass your driving test, is when you stop learning how to drive. In fact, for most people, for everyone, it's the start of where you really learn how to drive. You'll tend to find that people drive very differently to how the driving test states people should drive, and they do things that are slightly twisting at the rules. I'm not saying you should twist the rules yourself, but just realize that other people on the road will do this. Realize that not everyone on the motorway, on public roads and things like that is going to be doing 70 mile an hour to the dot. We'll all be doing 110 mile an hour going down the M25. I'm not condoning that because it's illegal, of course, but it is possible. So don't get angry at these people. Don't try and, flag them down and say that, so-and-so, the rules say this. It's gonna happen. You just need to keep yourself safe. Know that defensive driving is an important part of everyday driving. And I'm not saying when someone tries to overtake you, block them like it's a race, like it's a racetrack, because you'll be kicked off a racetrack for blocking. Defending's different. Of course, but be defensive. Keep yourself safe. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Keep yourself and your car on the road and on the black stuff. That's all that's important. The last tip I'm going to say, and it applies to everyone, no matter how experienced you are, is never think you can stop learning. Always try and find a little bit of information that makes you that little bit better at driving and just advances you that bit forwards. Even, top racing drivers are always trying to push themselves forwards in their craft. and that's something we can all follow too. Just know that driving is incredibly easy to learn, but it's extremely hard to master, and that's what makes it fantastic. Because so many people drive around the world. There's hundreds of thousands of people that do it, but there's only a very few that are really fantastic. So keep it up, keep learning, and keep trying. Thank you for watching the video today. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. Let me know down in the comments if you've got any tips for driving in general, or anyone who's watching this video. Thank you for watching. We've come up past 12,000 subs. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for all your support, and nearly 2 million channel views I think we've nearly hit, which is mental. Have a great day. Drive safe.